Why are gas prices so low in the US, compared to Sweden where it's $8.646 a gallon?
In Norway it's almost $11 US a gallon, and we have our own oil and petrol. In fact we export it. It's just because of taxes.
The federal gas tax in the U.S. is only $0.18/gallon right now. State gas tax averages about $0.30/gallon. Some lower, some higher. In Sweden, it's $2 to $3/gallon.
The United States has some of the lowest fuel taxes in the world.
The U.S. subsidizes the oil industry.
Low fuel tax. Instead of you paying extra tax to discourage you from using gasoline, in America they don't really do that. Some would argue the government actually pays you, indirectly, to encourage it.
Hey Sweden, that is still cheap. Canada is on the border of USA and our gas is still twice as much, even with the oil coming from Canada. For example, BC is $2.20 per liter, $8.80 plus per gallon.
Lower taxes on petrol in the USA show encouragement for drivers to drive further in inefficient vehicles, but that also means that crude oil price represents a higher proportion of the price. This means that as crude oil price goes up, American petrol prices increase dramatically. Because U.S. tax is criminally low and they designed cities around the automobile to everyone on Earth's detriment.
Bravo up on this brilliant bait question.
15 years ago when I was in Germany it was like that. It's always been that way.
It's not low everywhere in the US, but I think it's less expensive in places like Texas because the oil doesn't have to go as far. Because most of the refineries that turn crude oil into fuel are in the US. At least enough to provide for our domestic supply and still have enough export in huge amounts, anyway. So instead of having to import processed fuel to account for shortfalls, we just need to import crude oil, which is cheaper. Other nations, like the entirety of Europe, don't have that same production capacity, so they have to import the processed material, which has an increased cost. So it's not just the shipping that they're paying for, it's the refining and processing as well as the increased danger. After all, crude oil is hazardous mostly because it's carcinogenic goop, not because it'll spontaneously explode due to vapors.
Gasoline and most fuels produce vapors that can spontaneously combust and have a lower flash point and pressure sensitivity than crude oil. So fuel tankers require special equipment and the workers require special training and the industry requires special regulations, all of which creates a huge markup for importing processed fuel. Whereas crude can basically be stuck in a steel drum barrel until the end of time, and the only real risk is the barrel rusting and springing a leak. So transportation often doesn't require nearly as much safety restrictions, aside from making sure nothing leaks. Much cheaper.
C. Some countries are governed in a way that which actually gives the government enough money to run the programs the citizens want and need, beyond crazy defense spending. Another factor to consider is that Americans tend to have a greater need for gas. Most Americans drive to and from work, and many drive to and from all the stores, and to school, and all their social activities, everywhere. In Sweden, people can often commute by bike or public transit, or by boat. From what I've seen in Stockholm, longer journeys can be done by train, sometimes even instead of planes. If gas prices in the US were higher, a lot of the economy wouldn't function as well, people couldn't get to jobs or school.
US has 65% domestic production plus warm ties with oil governments, plus Sweden has ridiculous taxes.
You have higher standard of living than Americans, so your income cancels out any bonus from cheaper fuel. Because your government did a better job of convincing you they could spend your money more wisely than you could. The US gets oil from its own states, Alaska and Texas, so there's no middleman. Fuel taxes are low cause our government just gives our tax money directly to oil companies and bribes them with tax breaks. Usually the Republicans do this, then Dems stop it to some degree and get blamed for raising prices, when really that's just closer to the real price.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epic Eracast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.